Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. Kelly here with a long-awaited review of Glastonbudget 2024. This year brought a whole new management team and things certainly look different. But was the changes for the better or for the worse? Time for you to find out. So a little bit of context for you all. This is my second budget. Last year, Lee and I were kindly gifted a press pass by their former management team and the former PR team when we camped the Saturday and Sunday night. This year we went for the day just because my budget was limited, because I do not get paid anywhere near enough for the hours that I throw into the My Mountain stuff. Hashtag not bitter. And two, this weekend I also have to cover a bottomless brunch and a vegan market, so I had to kind of only go for the day. So if you haven't already gathered from what I've just said, the management team have changed. And now you have the people who originally ran the standard bar last year running the whole shebang. Now, at first glance, it would be like me running cocktail week every year and then going, fuck it, I want to destroy vodka now. Someone get the machines out, let's go. And by all means, I am perfectly entitled to do that. But if I was to be taken seriously, I would have to convince people that my vodka is worthy of the great giants of vodka land. So the question then becomes, did the new organisers convince goers that Glastonbudget was going in the correct direction? Let's start with the music. I saw 7 acts during my visit on the Friday. These were Fell Out Boy, a Fall Out Boy tribute, Fake Boy Slim, Fat Boy Slim tribute, Bon Jovi Experience, Metalworks, which was a rock and metal cover band, Jilted Generation, who are a Prodigy tribute, Forever 80s, who were an 80s music cover band, and the Punk Daft Laser Show, which was a Daft Punk tribute. Now, the music itself was great at worst, and if these acts don't come back next year, I will be choosing chaos and violence at best. My personal top 3 were Jilted Generation, Forever 80s, and Fell Out Boy, with Jilted Generation being a very pleasant surprise that's caused me to save multiple songs from the Prodigy on my own Spotify playlist, and I would not be mad if they were the headline next year. That being said, there were choices made that, in my personal opinion, completely defeated the objective that the new organisers were trying to do. I suppose now is as good a time as ever to address the stage situation. Last year there were 4 stages: Icon, Loco, Big Top, Main Stage. The first 2 hosting independent artists and bands, and the latter 2 being your big tribute acts. This year, both the Icon and Loco stages have been cut. I didn't like this decision. I told their PR team when I met with them at the festival that I didn't like this decision. And they explained that the idea of having the 2 stages and scrapping the other 2 was that all the festival goers, which are around about 8,000, 9,000, they were estimating, will gather together to create a bigger atmosphere. Now, I personally had no issues with the atmosphere last year. I thought it was the perfect balance of people joining in and not being too crowded, which the autism here highly appreciated. However, I will, based on that definition, say that it does give the cutting of the stage some logic. Until we come across an issue within this reasoning that makes me think some of the staging and timing decisions were really bloody stupid. A prime example of this is Fell Out Boy and Fake Boy Slim, both of which were the opening acts on their relevant stages. This year, Fell Out Boy opened in the Big Top and Fake Boy Slim opened on the main stage. Now, Fake Boy's set was on the great side of my scale and was a DJ set with a very interesting remix of Greta Thunberg's iconic speech. Now, the problem with this being in the main stage was that the setup just did not do Fake Boy any justice. The strobe and the smoke machine in the more enclosed setting that the Big Top provides would have actually been perfect for Fake Boy, and it would have set the atmosphere that he was trying to do. I'm going to prove my point now by uploading some clips of Daft Punk's set, which was in the Big Top, had a very similar concept to Fake Boy Slim, i.e. DJs remixing songs whilst people sung and danced. This was at the end of the night. daft would fail to capture the same atmosphere which they did so well if they did the exact same show on the main stage. Fake Boy Slim and Fell Out Boy should have swapped stages, so Fell Out was on the main stage, Fake Boy was in the big top, and why this wasn't the case baffles me. The only way you could make a dance set work on the main stage is doing what Jill to Generation did, where they did the dance setup but kind of mixed it in with metal with the live band, guitarists, etc., and encouraged crowd surfing and mosh pits. That is the only way you can make it work. A DJ playing the set just does not work. The bright side of having your stages cut in half is that you can make a smaller arena. I personally didn't think there were any size issues last year, but do appreciate how easy the setup was to navigate this year. It's basically a loop that has the main stage at the top of the circle and the big top at the bottom of the circle. Most things in said loop were clearly signed. I do say most because there was no signage about where you could or couldn't smoke or vape. We discovered this when my boyfriend actually got told off by the organiser for vaping in the bar area whilst I was chatting to the PR team. Despite the arena sizing, I was impressed by the food selection. There was plenty of options for all palates, including a lovely steak and fries option, which is pictured in this video now, and was amazing. And the donuts were also really good here. I had those for breakfast. Pricing-wise, it was £12 to £15 for a substantial meal, which one would argue counteracts the budget bit of Glastonbudget, especially if there is a large group of you. Something that is reasonable to buy is the official merch. This year's hoodies were £24 or a £1 saving compared to last year. T-shirts, meanwhile, costed £12 each or a £2 increase from last year's festival. Cups, meanwhile, stayed the same price as last year at £3. Now, the new cup is on the left, last year's cup is on the right, and Lee and I did notice that this year the cup doesn't mention the year, whereas on last year's cup it clearly says 2023. I'm hoping and I'm praying that this was just a design choice and not a way that the festival is just going to get away with plugging the same cups every year, especially given that the festival has got their 20th anniversary coming up in 2025. So a really important branded mug is vital. Whilst I didn't access the VIP experience this year, I did quite like the look of the outside area, especially with the fairy lighting. It was a great touch, and it was nice that an issue from last year's festival was sorted in an inventive way. Now, if that inventive way could translate into the inside, it would be perfect. For context, last year VIP was a completely separate area with its own entertainment, which was a DJ in the daytime and acoustic acts at night. Contrast it with this year, where it was a cut-off section of the beer tent. Speaking of the beer tent, let's talk drinks. Let's get the bad bit out the way first. I hate the token system with a passion. For those of you who are unaware how it works, you have to queue twice to get a drink at Glastonbudget. The first queue is to buy your tokens, and then the second queue is to actually get your drink. When I wrote my blog post about Glastonbudget last year, I praised the VIP bar for the ability to just let me pay for my drink directly and not have to worry about tokens. This year, every single bar, including the VIP one, uses the token system due to them all being run by the same people. And I'll be honest, it put me off getting drinks, especially when I got later in the night and wondered if I should treat myself to a cider or a cocktail, which cider being 5 to 6 tokens and cocktails being 10 tokens respectively. Now, given tokens cost £1 each, that means you're paying £6 to £8 per pint and a tenner a cocktail. Wine, meanwhile, is £7 to £9 and pop was £3. And a cheeky Google has shown me that these are very similar prices to last year's Glastonbury Festival. A festival where tickets started from £355 per person. For reference, a 3-day camping ticket to Glastonbudget would set you back £125 on the door. Yes, that is just over a third of the price. Well spotted. The other issue with the tokens is that they were located, the tokens were in the same place you could buy official merch. Now, when I brought my merch the first part of the day on the Friday before the acts even started, I had no qualms. However, when people started having a few drinks and more people arrived, there were lots of qualms, to the point where they had to have a separate area. Now, I personally liked the fact it was in the bar because it was easy to find, opposed to last year where hunting it down was bloody awkward. Scrapping the tokens means that you wouldn't be having this issue of the merch store moving around. But Kelly, I hear you cry. This means money could be stolen. Valid concern. But how do you think they're getting those tokens in the first place? They're paying for the tokens with actual money. So just cut out the middleman and just let everybody pay outright next year. Now for the good stuff, I love the partnerships between Glastonbudget and Long Round Corner, and I think it's a long time bloody coming. And I think Brentby should have also been pulled into the ring, and every drinker's preference was covered for the most part, apart from mocktails. I'm sorry, fellow sober people, we did get slightly shafted this year. It was great to see a mixture of independents and larger brands behind the bar, and I wasn't surprised by this. I was told that this was the background of the organisers and this was their specialty for years at Glastonbudget. One thing I really disliked was the lack of variety in the non-food stalls. There were about 9 to 10 non-Glastonbudget merch stalls in the arena, and every single one of them, apart from a singular stall, sold the same old bucket hats and glittery clothing, with the singular unique stall selling taxidermy insects in a frame, which is, very much different from glitter and wellies. Now, personally, I didn't see anything advertised locally regarding the festival where people could apply to be traders. In fact, a little bit tea for you, Samosa Vala actually requested interest and got put on a waiting list. Easiest way to fix this for 2025, you reach out to your local makers prior, you boost your variety tenfold. Look at it this way. How many stores attend the monthly craft markets? And those stores are various different types. And you get them in Mount Mowbray's town centre once a month. Like, there's no excuse, guys. Sort it out. Make us have a bit more variety next year, please. The problem is, when you return to an event after it's changed management, you are always going to be comparing it to the old guy. I kept doing it throughout the day when I was making notes. And you start to notice little things that a newbie wouldn't even acknowledge. Here's a prime example of what I mean. Let's look at these two examples of security by the stages and what happens when there is a stray inflatable ball. This was what last year's security were doing. And this is what this year's security did when a stray inflatable ball crossed the stage threshold. Having the full list of acts both in the paper programme itself and the VIP bar was brilliant last year. The former was a great memento and the latter was a fantastic photo op. This year, both of these were replaced with an app. I liked how easy the app was to use and how it wasn't tied to the questionable farm signal, which is something that I was concerned about when I was pre-testing it for a TikTok video. The only problem is when you have the sort of delays triggered by that previously mentioned shit show, the app becomes useless. Absolutely useless. It doesn't update with the new times, and even after yesterday's disaster, it didn't update with Seriously Collins switching around today. So it's very difficult to plan around the apps when it's not upgraded. I understand why, but it's still not good, and an updated set list needs to be somewhere in the festival. My suggestion, the large screens on the main stage, you put on between shows, something as simple as Band X will be on in Y minutes, followed by acts A, B, C, D and E. That way people have a visual idea of the updated times, as opposed to all arriving on the time going, where on earth is this band? Now, I'm fully aware that I've spoken about multiple issues in the video, and I've passed on said issues to the team prior to recording and posting this video. So I am going to round off this video with another positive note. I paid £30 plus booking fees for a day at Glastonbudget, where I saw 7 acts. I am not going to pay £30 to see 7 acts anywhere else in the area, especially ones of the high calibre that I saw on Friday. If you're doing £125 per person for the 3-day camping and you go from Act 1 to headline each day, that is 21 acts that you will see, which is a lot of entertainment for a festival of its size. You also have to remember that the new team have picked this up in the middle of planning season. If we're dipping it on to me, it would be like Sharon going to me in January, right? The 40th weekend is in May. You are now responsible for planning it. Have fun. The truth is, nobody but the outgoing and current organisers know how much handover took place in that transition period. And I have had to do things with a lack of handover previously. And I know, 1, it's really bloody difficult. And 2, you are going to need an adjustment period to work out what does and doesn't work with your audience. So what are my final thoughts? As I said in my Instagram story, I had positive thoughts, small niggles, and thoughts about things that completely contradicted the vision that the organisers were going for. Was I looking at the festival this year through returning goer glasses? Yes. Would a newbie care about some of the things I pointed out? Probably not, to be honest. Should you get tickets to 2025? Yes. 1, because there'll be no awkward changeover period. The team that organise now will be doing everything from the 2024 debrief at the end of the event that's going on, all the way through to 2025's festival weekend. So we'll truly get to see their potential at play because you can not have the awkward transition periods. Also, next year marks 20 years of Glastonbudget, so the bar is going to be set even higher. And I'm expecting some of the best acts from that double decade span to be on the stages. So, all right, that was my honest review. There was some ups, there was some downs. But overall, I still had a complete and utter blast. Are you looking forward to seeing what they bring next year, especially with the 20th anniversary coming up? Let me know in the comment section, and also let me know if you are planning to attend next year. And for those of you that aren't, that attended this year, what could the organisers do to bring you back? Don't forget to follow me and Glastonbudget for all of the latest updates about the festival. We are going to be doing a lot more over the year in regards to content. They're actually going to give me information. It's going to be great. And coverage, so watch this space. And make sure to follow my Melton on all of your favourite platforms.